Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sherry.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 107 of the Traveling Professors. Today Sherry and I are still in Athens, but we won't be here too much longer. There are about 3 more museums which we need to see. Today we are going to take you to the Benaki Museum. You can see on this cover page that the picture of the two of us is the picture for the show that we did on the Sounion Temple of Poseidon. Well, the reason I use that picture is there isn't a picture of Sherry and I at the Benaki Museum, but it was on that same day. The trip to Poseidon's temple was done in the afternoon, and we had the morning, and in the morning we went to visit the Benaki Museum. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, it's a unique museum. It was brought together in 1931 to honor the memory of Emmanuel Benakis. His son, Antonius Benakis, donated the primary home, which was opposite the National Garden on Queen Sophia's Avenue. The Benakis family collection included 37,000 Islamic and Byzantine objects, and then more objects were added later on. And under the directorship of Angelikos de Valora, the museum added 60,000 objects, books, and documents, which were purchased and others were donated. And one of the things that the director did was he focused on displaying donated objects in order to encourage public participation and strengthen the community ties to the museum. This map shows the hop-on, hop-off bus route, the red line in Athens, which actually you can get on in multiple places, as you can see here, but it was started right in front of our hotel. Now, I'm going to use this for a couple of times. Now, today we're going to go to the Benaki Museum, which is a really short walk. So that's located right here. The next week, we're going to walk across the street to go to the Byzantine Museum and the War Museum. And then our last show that we will do on Athens, we will be going up to the Archaeological Museum, which is up here. And that is really the easiest to get to using the hop-on, hop-off bus. And I'll explain that when we get to that one. The Benaki Museum has grown so much over the years. It was reorganized in 2000, and they've shuffled some stuff around recently, but they have so much material that they've separated it out. So here's one of the other buildings. There are 5 other sites in various parts of Athens and in parts of Greece, and this one houses the Islamic section, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to make sure that the Benaki Museum, the main one, the first one, is strictly on Greek history. This is a picture of the Benaki Museum that houses all of the Islamic art and culture. Now, here is our regular map. So you can see we're going to be right here. And so it's a simple walk past the Parliament building to the museum. And when we arrived, here's just what it looks like as you're walking up the street. And then here's a nice view of it from the front. Of course, it is kind of raining. One of the things that's unique about this museum, of all museums in Greece, this one covers Greek history from its very beginnings, present, encompassing all cultures that have been in Greece. So they have a superb ancient section. They have an incredible religious art section. The museum houses this incredible folk art and clothing display from all different islands and areas of Greece. And then they have some modern art in here as well. But you can start out at the Stone Age here and walk all the way through it. It's really, really well done. We went back here also when the weather was better to get a picture of it from across the street. So you can see it doesn't look very big, but it does have an incredible collection. As we entered, we came to the ancient section. So here you have one of the rooms with the various busts and statues and artwork. Here's one of the necklaces and some of the jewelry from ancient Greece. But here's a display which shows the Stone Age tools as the Greeks begin to develop. In the next section, you see the next stages of development. And then the pottery that you'll find in various parts of Greece, as well as the various islands. And then, of course, there is a nice little section on the military. Here are some of the Bronze Age spears. Here we have a couple of Mycenaean swords and daggers. And then these really nice helmets. The Corinthian helmet on the right, conical shaped helmet on the left, good old bronze. Here we have an object that is used, it's not a weapon. I guess you could whack people with it, but it's used to clean your back. You know, you cover yourself in olive oil and then you scrape the olive oil off of you and exfoliate your skin. Several types of amphora from different areas of Greece. And of course they do have a nice gold collection. A nice golden bowl here. Golden head of Medusa. Here we have some of look at the necklace here. More gold objects. And then they had a collection of gold wreaths. Here's version 1. There's the different types of plant leaves. Here's version 2. And then I love this one the best. This one is really magnificent. And then you come to the next room. A lot of the material you see in the background are actually burials for ashes. And they have this object right here in front. Now when we were there, they had a setup, and here's the setup. They were doing testing on it. They were doing all kinds of calculations. They were doing scans on it and all sorts of different things. And they wanted to show how the different techniques are used to discover things about artifacts. So here's a view of it from one section. See this giant fish? Here's another view. Later on the second floor, I took this picture, so you see they have the scanners and other objects around it. And then we went, of course, and this is what it would have looked like when they weren't doing the display. So you pass through, and then here you have funeral monuments. Now, the one on the right and the ones on the left, those are where you would have ashes. The other one is a monument, so you would have the person's ashes buried below it, or it could be in a wall, and that would be in front of it. And then they have this beautiful gold object here. Now in this picture, it just looks like, well, what is that, a medallion? Well, the museum had it displayed like this. It's something to put on your hair. So you would put this over your head, and this would be at the top or the back of your hair. So that's just a few of the objects that are in the ancient section. Now we come to the religious section. Most of this material was either donated to the museum or was purchased through legitimate venues from buildings that were being torn down. They had extra churches in the area or damaged churches. So here's one of the areas you're coming in. You can see the icon in front there, the mosaic. And then you see all sorts of different types of objects that you would have found in Greece, anywhere from the 3rd century AD through the Middle Ages. Here we have a mosaic with Mary, with Jesus, and then this textile of the Holy Family. And they have a whole series of books. This is an illuminated prayer book. They have New Testaments and Old Testaments. This is a very, very old iconostasis. You would have had this in the front of the church. The altar would have been behind the door, and that would have been opened when the services began. And you would have had other icons up above, but this one still had the 2 main ones, and then the beautiful door. And then this is a tomb. During the Holy Week, you take the cross down and you lay the body in the tomb. Now sometimes that is an actual statue, and sometimes it is a cloth with Christ on it. And then it is placed here, and then on the evening of Friday night into Saturday, there is a service, the lamentation service, where this would be carried around. You would have had holders on it so that you could have carried this around the church 3 times, and then it would have been placed in the front. And then on Holy Saturday, on the resurrection at night, this would be moved off the side, and then this would all be covered with the resurrection cloth, which is, if you're using a cloth, it would be on one side and the other, and then you'd have flowers all over. But this was a very large one and a very nice looking one. All sorts of different types of crucifixes that you see here for various purposes. And then these are communion spoons. In the Orthodox Church, you receive bread and wine at your communion. So the bread is in the chalice with the wine for the consecration. And so then they use these spoons to dip it up and then give it to each individual. So they get a little bit of the morsel of bread and a little bit of the wine. And then when you step away from the communion part, then there's usually blessed bread off to the side as well. Then here we have another, a little larger iconostasis. You see several other portraits, and then there are some missing at the top, and again the front door. So this is a very beautiful collection. It's not quite as stunning as the one we'll see the next time we go to Athens in 2 weeks, which is the Museum of Byzantine Art. But it is a beautiful and touching area of the museum. Well, we went up to the top floor where they have a little cafe and a little garden area, and we had a little bit of lunch and looked out over the surrounding area, and this is the view towards the botanical gardens across the street. And then we went back down to the main second floor, and that is where they have the stunning folk clothing. Here's one of the very large displays that you see, And then as you walk through the different areas and different time periods, they have this stunning fabric work. Look at the clothing. They have these all identified as to what area and what time period. Here we have some of the clothing for the men. I like the boys with the fez hat. Here's another room full of the ladies. And then here's a display showing an interior of a home in the 1800s. Here we have another family a little higher up on the socioeconomic scale. I love the little child's outfit. And then we have some more of the women's folk clothing. Here's another display, a little more aristocratic with a soldier in the background. And then here you see the outfit that's worn by the guards at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. There are photographs on the wall that show different parts of Greece where you find these. Now in this particular picture, you see the beautiful gold working, the necklaces. But here's a close-up view of some of the gold beading and what have you that the women wore on their hair or on their necks. And then here we have I believe this is a wedding night set of bedding. And then again, another little higher up on the socioeconomic scale. Look at the clothing that you see here. And then we start seeing some of the nobility. Now, since we've been to Greece, they've added a whole section on the royal family. When the Greek king was placed back on the throne after the Ottomans were thrown out and Greece received its independence. And this is one of the rooms where they display some of the clothing from that era. And then once we were finished, time to go back to the hotel. And this is the view across the street from the hotel where you have the double-decker buses. And you'll see the red one in the middle. There's the blue one. There's a yellow line. The yellow line goes down to Piraeus and out along the coast. And so that completes the Benaki Museum.
Sherry and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.